welcome to the first Toolbox talk that we're going to do in a series of 4 for Safety Month. Now this first week is about working together to manage risks at work. And so looking at that, I would like to chat about hazards. Hazards in the workplace. The first thing we need to agree on is, what is a hazard? Well, the textbook definition of a hazard is anything that can cause harm, loss, or injury to a person or thing. We should know that a hazard can be a material thing or a psychological thing. It can be moving or a stationary thing. Now, hazards, generally speaking, only exist because they've not been observed or managed. And to manage these, we have what we call a hierarchy of controls. And they work like this, going from the best to the least usable. We start with eliminate, and then substitute, then isolate, then engineer, then manage and administrate, and lastly, PPE. Now, I thought it would be of value to consider how and when we use the controls. That way, as you go through your daily work routine, you can help keep your mates safe by suggesting controls to any hazards that you see. Now, when we eliminate a hazard, we're looking at how we can perform the same function but not have to be exposed to the hazard. Let's say you had to walk over a forklift access path to get to the bathroom. Now, clearly the hazard is the forklift travelling down its marked pathway in a perfectly legislated manner. To eliminate the hazard, we would change the pathway to the bathroom so you do not need to cross the forklift's pathway. Now, you and I know it may not always be possible to reroute the walkway to the bathroom. So we now move to level 2 of the control hierarchy, and that is substitute. When we substitute a hazard, we replace it. For example, if we had a small winding machine that had an exposed electrical wire, we could feasibly reduce that with another unit that does the same job. It may not be possible to replace the winding machine quickly enough. So here we move to the next level of control, and that is isolate. When we isolate a hazard, we stop people or equipment from being able to access it. We could see, for example, a machine guard that has slipped on a large industrial lathe, rendering it unusable. In isolating, we would disconnect it from the power, put a sign on it, put a warning tape or something similar completely around it, and we communicate the danger to all operators. Now, there are some hazards we cannot isolate, thus we look at whether we can engineer the hazard. We could see a large pothole in the walkway of the business, and the most expedient control would be to engineer it. This would entail immediately filling the hole up with some temporary substance while the relevant person plans to have it permanently filled. There are times you can't engineer, as it could be impractical. We might have a manufacturing process that is inherently dangerous, for example, in the mining industry. In this situation, we're unable to use one of the previous control measures, so we revert to considering how we can administrate the hazard. Now, when we administrate, we create a set of policies and procedures as to how the hazard should be dealt with. It will often include the use of an observer to ensure the safe use of for example, equipment. There are times when we're unable to administrate quickly or practically, and it is in these situations we revert to the least desirable control, and that is using PPE. In the case of a noisy manufacturing site, we could use earplugs or earmuffs to control the hazard. Now, it's important that everyone looks after everyone else at work. Too many people get hurt or die in our Australian workplace, and we can all contribute to the safety of each other. At your next internal Toolbox meeting, how about suggesting a 5-minute exercise for you and your mates to identify 2 hazards in the workplace? And do everyone a favour, just don't identify them. Suggest control measures to your boss, starting at the top of the hierarchy and work your way down until you find one that works for your situation. Thank you so much.